Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Truth About Marketing. I have my good friend Andrew Welk here. He's the owner and founder of AWG in Scottsdale. They have a team of coaches and they're growing like crazy. So, Andrew, thank you for taking the time and joining me.
Dude, thank you. Welcome to be on the show. It's awesome.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we start out every show. We do a little bit of a lightning round. So, I'm asking some questions, just shoot it from the hip. There's no right or wrong answer, and then we'll kind of get that going into our conversation. Is that good?
Yeah, I love it. Let's hit it.
Awesome. All right. First, favorite business or marketing technology?
Instagram by a mile. It's right where my base client is. 60%'s in that 18 to 34 age range. It's just hits it on the head for me.
Awesome. Favorite social channel?
Same thing, Instagram. I don't put a lot of my personal stuff there, but I put all my business stuff there.
Right on. Least favorite social channel?
TikTok by a mile. I don't know. It's just a bunch of funny stuff to me. I don't indulge.
Yeah, we can talk about that one later. We get a lot of people hating on TikTok. So, a brand that you love?
I mean, right now, Bad Birdie, Jason Richardson, good friend of mine, started that around COVID. It's just a great story what he's done. Gone global from a Scottsdale, apparel company. Now they're into a lot of.
Very good. Brand that needs help?
I mean, one of my favorites growing up as a kid watching Tiger, Nike was really, really the head of the scene. Now I think, losing their poster boy. Still love the stuff, but I think they could use some help.
All right. And favorite influencer or business leader?
I'd say Andy Frisella. I love his podcast. One of my good friends, mentors, Blake. I love you if you're out there watching. Turned me onto it, and a lot of things changed my life after listening to how he thinks about things and just how to tackle life.
Awesome. Yep. Great dude. Great dude. And then brand or person you'd like to work with the most?
I'd say D-Book, boy. We got to get you out here. The Valley's prodigy, baby. Let's get some lessons in. I know you're good already, but let's go.
There you go. All right. Well, hopefully he'll hear you. I think we got enough people that listen, watch that. Maybe we'll get this out to him. So, right on. Cool, man. Well, why don't you give the viewers who don't know you a little bit about yourself, how you got to where you are today?
Gave your life to a game that never loves you back. You started as a little kid. You pour in as much as you can, as often as you can. You kind of miss a lot of family things. You miss a lot of stuff. You're on the road. You're chasing that goal of eventually being on the world's biggest stage. And for me, I had a lot of injuries. I battled a lot of different mental issues too. Like I was in a bad state for the majority of my life, battling all these surgeries, 7 wrist surgeries, a heart surgery, just a lot of things in my way to make that happen. And eventually, like I found my calling, right? Like this is what I was supposed to do. I had that passion to chase something that got me a skill set and a talent and love for helping people. And now that's kind of where I get to succeed on a daily basis. I wake up happy, get to see 10 clients a day and make their day better and hopefully make their game better. And we've been having great success. So I'm really happy where I wound up. But just the long hours as a kid, through college, playing as a pro on the road on your own, away from everything, and then slowly transitioning into something else. So I've been proud of what we've built so far this year and the last few years. So I'm having a great time.
Very good, very good. And so talk a little bit about that. You transition, and I know this happens with a lot of athletes, right? Again, it could be football, baseball, soccer, golf, right? But as you made that transition out, how did you kind of get yourself going or get started? I mean, a lot of people's word of mouth, but then, at some point you got to grow and scale beyond just your buddies, right? So like, how did this kind of work out for you and how did you build up this golf business?
I'd say putting in the hours to show yourself. I mean, back in the day, your skill set got you the business. Nowadays, your attention gets you the business. So you have to have the attention, then the skill set, then clients come. So once that floodgate's open, you start getting some big clients and big names. It spreads. So what I've seen is, 2 years ago, 0 clients to 2 years later, over 1,000 clients, regularly booked 2 to 3 weeks out, seeing 10 people a day, 6 days a week. There's not many people who are that busy that just love it. I absolutely love it. I'm here at 6. I leave at 6. It's just fun for me. But the going from an athlete to being an influencer-ish, I don't call myself an influencer. I don't want to be an influencer. But I'm just showing people what we have to offer. And you have to get in front of the camera and kind of be that little bit of a sales pitchy or marketing and make that content because I push it all on Instagram. If there's someone that knows about me through their friends, great. But I'd say 25% of clients are gathered through Instagram, raw leads.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that was funny. I just had a conversation with somebody the other day where it's like, he's like, I don't know, man. Like, it's from John Kilmer, actually, I think shared it, but he was talking about how, God, when did I, as a musician, when did I become an influencer, start to be a content creator, right? And that's not what they set out to do. But today, in any business, right? I mean, shit, you could be a plumber and you're
Yeah.
trying to get yourself out there as like, here's my business, here's what I'm doing, and like making cool videos. But that's how we're consuming things these days. And from a marketing perspective, it's like most of the things we're doing now or seeing are videos. So,
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that. Cause I mean, you obviously I've watched your stuff. You have some great content on Instagram, but it's a lot with your clients and things like that. What I think is cool about your content is that you're teaching and helping people who are 12 years old, 80 years old, man, woman, right? Like they're all different and they all have different swings, but clearly, like you're staying busy, you're seeing results. So, I mean, talk a little bit about that and how it's helped.
Well, I mean, right away when you're first starting, you just want someone to come, right? You just need someone to get in the door and experience. I think that I have a good product, but nobody knows about it yet. So it
Yeah.
starts with friends, cold calling, just pushing all the content, using all the stuff that I learned from my amazing coaches, who I learned from my whole life, to just regurgitate a lot of that and put it out there. And right away, you're like, I hope people like this. And then all of a sudden, people are sharing it, and then they're reposting it, and then you get their 5 best friends. Like one friend is going to share that
Yeah.
story, and then his 5 closest friends that are golfers are like, hey, who was that? Did you love it? Yeah, he's great. Boom, there's 4 clients off of one Instagram story. So if there's coaches out there not doing that stuff, you're not trying to grow. You have to be doing that kind of stuff, I feel like, in order to get more business. And I have a lot of the best coaches on my phone looking at what they're doing. Like, oh, hey, they're with Brooks or Bryson or some of the big names. They're using a lot of the expertise from the players. So like I have a lot of really good friends that are still playing at a high level on TV.
Mhm.
And like having them as, a close reference, or just picking them up on the phone after a long round, like, hey, what did you learn today? What was tough? What did you do? Like, I have a lot of good resources that I get to use, coaches, friends, and other athletes, NFL, NBA. I'm learning every day. But as far
Yeah.
as that kind of stuff, like, you got to be pushing it hard, and there's no way to grow.
And I think one of the things that people, I mean, again, you could call it name dropping, you call it this, whatever, but like, dude, at the end of the day, in any business or any kind of walk of life, people want the validation of somebody else's name. Like, oh, this person sees you. Oh, this person's getting a lesson. Oh, this person is using your marketing agency, right? Like, we get it. We hate name droppers. We hate that kind of like just incessant. But the whole idea is like, if you, and I've watched your channels, are consistent, and it's like, you're posting your 12-year-old little stud on the junior
Yeah.
PGA, and then you're posting 80-year-old granny that lives, in Silverleaf, and then you got your, athlete or like a Bryce Butler or somebody that's coming in there. You know what I mean? Like it's not. There's a way to go about it, in my opinion, of like, hey, showcasing who you're teaching and showcasing again, whether it's an athlete, a celebrity, an influencer, but also you're doing the same for your regular clients, right? Which I'll be honest, it makes you feel good that like you see yourself and you see yourself improving on somebody else's
Yeah.
story or coach's story. You know what I mean? So talk a little about that as well, because the network effect definitely matters.
I'm just celebrating the client's win for the day. They won something. They got better. They made a good move change. Their body moved better. They started to create a pattern. They started to hit it consistent. Whether that's my 5-year-old stud or a 50-year-old everyday player or someone who just wants to play for the last few years that they can move. I've helped
Right.
all different walks, and it's cool to be able to see them leave with like, wow, I have a chance to get better, or it's not always going to be like this. That's the cool part. You see the spark in their eyes just go, bang, I got better today.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you continued to grow, or things got a little bit bigger, is there anything that you felt like, God, this worked so well, or like this didn't work? I got to stop wasting my time doing this, right? Like some people will say, yeah, I tried, ads in the newspaper, or I tried, doing some news articles or whatever. Like, is there anything that did work or didn't work that like is kind of notable for you?
Well, I'd say posting someone's progress from like when they started a package to when they're ending a package, how different things got, that was huge. Like seeing
Mhm.
someone on week 1 versus week 8, that's so cool to see that change. And they recognize it. And then their friends do
Right.
too. And they're like, hey, my friends are telling me I'm not bad anymore. That's cool to hear. Or then they send you their PR, like
Right.
that kind of stuff. Like just a simple post about where they were and where they went. And then what didn't work is like, putting stuff on TikTok. Like it honestly, like I got chirped more than I got anything good. Like this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Like a 12-year-old just reaming me, and then I fell for it. I'm like, okay, like what are you gonna do? Like
Yeah.
what do you want to do differently? Like what should I
Yeah.
have done? And then you're like, dude, this guy doesn't know. They're just chirping
Yeah,
you
they
for
don't know
fun.
either. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so I would say the takeaway there is like not necessarily listening to everybody that on social
Yeah.
media, right?
Yeah, falling for it.
Yeah, but there, all the influencers, the Gary V's and of the world and whatnot, they'll tell you like, oh, make sure you answer all your comments, engage with your audience. It's like, yeah, but if I sat there all day and like answered my haters, like you're gonna
Or
waste
there's
your
some
time.
loaded comments that put two clients up against each other. Like, who would
Right.
win in a battle? This D back or this wide receiver? I'm like, they're both my boys. You're not going to get me to do that.
That's hilarious. Who would win in a cash game?
Yeah.
That's funny. So, you said you started as one, right? But now you're starting to grow and you have teams of coaches, you're building a team of coaches and locations. So, like, what's that kind of been like and how are you scaling that? 'Cause I know, scaling my own business and hiring people and all that, it's not easy. Not easy.
No, I mean, I'm learning, but it was scary going from like, hey, I have enough ask now where I need help. And I'm lucky to have known some amazing coaches. And I got my boy Bob out of coaching the University of Minnesota. He's an amazing pro. He played for a long time. He's won everything. So his ability to transition and to come help me with what we got going on here was really good for me to see someone who I trust, who I can put in front of anybody, and he'll do an amazing job. And then slowly, I'm still looking. We're building still. I need that next guy. And, we have a new offer coming soon that we're going to talk about here.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So you're a golfer and we're based in Scottsdale. It's one of like the better places I would say in the
Yeah.
country for golf. But what's it like with working with some of the courses? Obviously, so like Talking Stick, you have a great setup there. You were previously at McCormick, but like for the coaches out there and people doing businesses, what's it like working with golf courses? And then like, is there support? Do they help you market at all? Or are they kind of just like, hey, you're on your own? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so it's kind of like anything. You got to go negotiate a lease, and you got to look around and get offers and bids. And sometimes you're just interviewing for the spot. Like I fell into something really great here. I interviewed for it, and Talking Stick's now my home, and I've absolutely loved it. The head pro, the GM, the workers, they make it feel like home. Now McCormick's where I got my start, and I love it there too. Those guys are awesome. Everything's good and grand. I just feel like having that second location kind of gave me another avenue for coaches to be at McCormick, myself to be at Talking Stick, and then eventually there might be a couple more, Chandler, Gilbert, Mesa, move around and keep adding bodies and spots on the range. But the lease is the toughest thing, and getting your foot in the door to talk to the GM, that can sometimes be hard to get that cell phone number or that meeting for the matter. But yeah, it's you got to know what you're asking, and you got to know what the market is doing so you can expect what the number they're going to throw at you, and if you're able to capitalize on that number, or if you have to walk away because it's too strong.
Yeah. And the business of golf is fascinating, right? So like again, we're just talking about the location and like the range and where you're going to teach people, but then like you get into the equipment conversation, like, hey, are there people that you're with that like try to persuade you to go one way or the other? Like if a student needs to get fitted, like what kind of equipment are you giving them? Are you telling them TaylorMade versus Nike versus, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's all these other things too. So talk a little bit about the business of golf from that perspective, because again, as you scale, I'm sure that there's even more avenues for you to be making money beyond just the teaching, right? Because again, if you have students, it's hard to be unbiased really, but I'm sure you do have your favorite clubs and your favorite putters and your favorite balls, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I really love, PXG and True Spec. PXG's been sponsoring me for quite a while. Very grateful for what they do for me and my clients. And then True Spec and I have a great partnership to where, their brand unbiased. You can literally get anything. You're not going to get it kind of shoved down your throat as to what you need to buy. The different avenues for golf stuff is I just want something to fit right. The amount of improper, use of the golf club for a little kid be using something too heavy. He's going to develop a swing flaw, or a young girl using something that doesn't fit her. We just need to get something that fits. I have my bias in personal brands because I've used it and I know what I like. Like I'm going to play the Pro V1X. I'm going to play the PXG irons. I'm going to play, different clubs in different areas. But there's not one brand that normally does it well, wedge through putter. So a lot of guys sprinkle. The ones that use all one brand are normally getting the checks.
So yeah, when you talk about that, like obviously clubs and equipment, there's money, but like there's other avenues or streams of income that you can make in this business as well. So talk a little bit about like the competitiveness and what that kind of looks like. How do you differentiate from the next instructor or the next golf? Sorry, I'm gonna ask it one more time. I'm trying to gather this thought, like transition into the
so like what makes me different from other people?
Yeah, but I'm trying to transition it from the equipment. So, okay. So that being said, right, like there's equipment and people get checks and you can kind of tell when people are being like disingenuous or dishonest when it comes to that. But like that's what makes instructors different, right? Like there's good ones and there's bad ones. So like for you, how do you see that kind of differentiation and what makes you different from the next guy?
I'd say all you want as a coach is for them to get better. Whether it's at the end of the day, whether it's not with me and they move to college and they have to see somebody else, I still keep in touch, but they still got to go do their thing. You just want to see them get better. You want them to be their own coach. So at the end of the day, you don't want to be I need to take your bumper off to switch your headlight, dealership. You just want them to be their own coach so they know how to take their bumper off and change their headlight. So eventually,
Right.
I want them to not need me eventually, right? So you
Yeah.
kick them out the door, let them fly. That's kind of the way I want to approach it, and not string them along to get the next week out of them.
Right.
Make them better, give them the info they need. Sometimes say the things they don't want to hear, whether it's a pro or a really successful businessman or athlete that has to humble themselves in a new game. I see it happen all
Right.
the time. World-class athlete needs to learn golf. This is, hold on, you're going to be in for a ride. But it's walking with them, not high and by lessons. I mean, I'm talking to my guys every day. I'm always on
Yeah.
my phone. My girlfriend might hate it that I'm on my phone till midnight, but I'm
What
talking to
girlfriend
somebody.
doesn't, buddy?
I'm on that phone all day, every day. And whether I'm checking in with a client after their round of a tournament, or hey, I need help with this. It's just the constant communication with someone that lets them know I'm there for them for the long haul, not just high and by on a Tuesday.
Right. Yeah. So you brought up an interesting thing about how you're talking to them. You're constantly working on your game, right? There's a lot of people that I've met or folks that are great at golf, and they're like, yeah, I've never taken a lesson. I've only been on YouTube, right, or whatever, right? And that's great. You're your own teacher. There's other people that there's some sort of just like validation, or at least like, hey, I've seen 8 different ways to do this on YouTube, but like I need somebody to like look at my swing and like film it and like give me constructive criticism in real time. Because again, you could watch a million YouTube videos, but without the feedback or actually looking at my swing, I couldn't tell you. You know what I mean? So that's a really interesting part of it too, because there seems to be so many resources. So when it comes to that, and it's golf instruction is not cheap. I mean, golf is already expensive enough as it is. But the idea being, how do you really, not say what's your sales pitch, but how do you, when someone comes to you and says, hey, I've been thinking about it, but like, what do you say that really kind of puts people into this mindset of, hey, here's why you need to take lessons?
Well, you need someone on your team. You need to have a mirror, really. And the mirror needs to know what to tell you to move and where to go. So when you're on YouTube, you're looking at good information from maybe a very credible coach, but he doesn't know where you are right now, and he doesn't know what words you need to hear today. So the thing is I'm a tour guide for a better swing. I pick you up where you are. I can see exactly where you are, and I know what you need to do next. Not give you chapter 8 when you're on chapter 1 like YouTube can. So it's very tailored, very personal. You're getting a buddy to walk with you for every bad round, every good range session, bad tournament. I'm still there. So, and I've done it with somebody else or with my own coaches or with other clients. So I kind of can tell where they are and what they need to be doing.
Yep. No, that makes a lot of sense. All right, so we'll shift a little bit of gears here because, like, obviously you're an avid golfer, and golf is your life. So we have the Masters coming up this week, which is obviously one of the greatest sporting events or week of sports there is, and especially in a golfer's opinion. But how do you feel right now? Because also we get to watch all the Live plus PGA guys back in the same tournament, right? It's like one time a year. So how do you feel about like the whole, Live versus PGA versus, I mean, I'll just tell you to lead it off, me as a golf fan, I don't really care what they play for. I just like watching good golfers golf.
Right. And I would love for them all to be on the same stage. I like what kind of has happened with making golf a little more fun, but I can't tell you I've ever watched a Live event, but I'll catch the Sunday of a PGA Tour event or even a Corn Ferry event for that matter, or
Right.
LPGA event. Because it feels to me like that's where the best players are. I know that there's some world top 5, top 10 players on Live. It's not where my eyes are. But the product could be good and it could sell, and maybe those guys made a crap load of money, but the best players are still on the PGA Tour. The best stories are still there. The up and coming guy, the rookie who made it after 10 years of trying, he's got his break, or my buddies are there. So I'm watching the PGA Tour.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then, okay, so now the wild card, the TGL, right? That's on like Mondays, Tuesdays. So my thing is, I'm not sitting there like rooting for a team or like getting all into it. But on a Monday, Tuesday, especially like, there's no Monday Night Football right now. There's nothing else going on. March Madness wasn't going on. Like, I'll sit and watch it, and it's still cool to see some guys make some cool golf shots or like have some really unique holes where you're like, wow, like how did they do that type of deal? But how do you feel about that whole thing?
I think it's another business ploy to get more eyes on golf, but it's definitely, you won't catch me hitting balls in a simulator ever. Like, it's just gross. I want to see it fly. I'm a
Yep,
purist in that regard, but it's good for viewership and to grow maybe some
grow the
eyeballs
game.
that weren't on the game back on the game. So I don't see how it would hurt, but it's not my cup of tea.
Not your cup of tea. Yeah. Dude, so that's also a very interesting point that you just brought up is the whole live ranges versus simulators, right?
Yeah.
Now, look, I'm with you. I like to hear and see, and like that's what I want when I'm hitting a golf ball. I've had so many friends who either have simulators or go have like memberships at a simulator place, whatever, and they're like, "Oh man, the simulator screwed me up. Like the simulator messed my swing up because they sit." And whether or not it's the actual like psychology of the simulator itself or the fact that they're just staring at their numbers the whole time, right? So like rather than have the feel and the sound and the natural ability, they're sitting here looking at their spin rate, their speed, their and it's
Yeah.
like it's jacking up what they're trying to do. So talk a little about that too, because again, there's good tools, there's bad tools, there's things that put you into bad habits. And like to me, the simulator is one of the most like argued tools there is out there.
So it's a great tool. I use the TrackMan on a daily basis with every lesson to validate what I'm seeing with my eyes and to not give an opinion. I have
Right.
factual data. Your face was open and your path is over the top and you're swinging to third base based on a value. I saw it, but I want you to see how bad it was. And then we can see how good it got. But for
Yeah.
like a simulator, they have to be calibrated right. They got to be aiming in the right place. They have to be on the right temperature and altitude. Most club places kind of juice that a little bit. So it's like, oh, I
Yeah.
went to the sim and I was hitting my 8 iron 180. It's like, you're swinging 78 miles an hour. Like, let's settle down. It's maybe going buck 50. So that thing can kind of lie to you, but it's still like it's a rich man's tool for his side bedroom that he wants to have some fun with his buddies in. Like, use
Yeah.
it at that. Don't use it, to try and make yourself, so dialed into the numbers that you fall in love and lose some of the art of shot making and kind of seeing what's out there.
Yeah. And so, with all these tools, because you see the ads for like the TrackMan versus the Foresight versus what's really interesting to me about golf advertising and like the way that they market things is like they typically don't step out. And I wish that more brands did, but like in my opinion, the only ones that continue to like push the edge or kind of break boundaries are like your beer commercials or your liquor brands or but like all of the, and I mean I watch a lot of CNBC, but a lot of the like, TrackMan, this, that, the Foresight that comes on, it's just very bland, boring, like shows guy, like you just said, old rich dude hitting it in his garage or in his, man cave. And you're like, I don't know. Nothing about that excites me. So, like, from your perspective, what are some of the like good golf brands as far as the advertising and branding and things like that go? I mean, you mentioned Bad Birdie earlier, but
Yeah, they're doing a great job for sure. Jason knows what he's doing. Like, good brands, I think out of nowhere, Puma and Cobra is doing a really good job. PXG is probably the top in like influencer marketing, like being fun, cool, and young. That's
yeah,
PXG. But the other side of the coin would be Titleist. That's old country club. We make the best equipment, bar none.
yeah,
It's kind of an exclusive factor. So then in Callaway's kind of on that new wave of young too. So I think whoever aligns with the new generation soonest will have a bigger capture of the market going forward. But we've seen companies go up and down. I think Puma, PXG, and Callaway are kind of in the top ring of going back and forth with each other.
yeah. Well, and so then, take that one step further as far as, like you said, influencer marketing and things like that. And yeah, of course, PXG is right here in our backyard. But, there's all kinds of big, like what you would say, golf influencers that have come up, right? And now, I mean, Bob Does Sports and those guys, FP, like super fun, having fun with the game. What I like about them is that they still take the game very seriously in terms of, they do match games. Like they're out there. Yes, they have fun, but they're not like, you know, hitting golf balls off a beer can type of bullshit. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's legitimate. They're not. Some of them aren't great. FP is obviously like a scratch golfer, but like the idea being that they're taking the game seriously. I like that. Now the full send crew and those guys, a lot of like jack dicking around or whatever. I mean, to each their own, and maybe they're going after a younger crowd. Now, I'm not somebody that sits and watches hours of YouTube content anyways. Like I just watch the clips and the highlights that I see like on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. But what are like some of the like your favorite influencers, or at least like how do you feel about that kind of segment of golf that's actually approaching or getting the attention of the younger players?
I think it's good for some people, but I don't watch a lot of it. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of it. For a young golfer that's really trying to make it, that wants to do it, I wouldn't have him watching YouTube
No.
golf. I would have him out there practicing or watching videos of the 2001 Masters, like
Right.
learning how to golf that way. That's what I grew up on. That's what all my buddies grew up on. YouTube golf is entertainment. They're trying to sell something.
Right.
Bryson's challenge over the house. Yeah, Bryson's an amazing guy, but that thing got millions of views watching him
Yep.
try and make that hole in one. So it might be good for salesy stuff and to grow brands and make money, but I don't think it's good for growing the junior golfer.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, so again, I would say that I'm a fan of growing anything that I'm into, right? Like NFL, I love football. I've always been a huge football fan. But again, was I into the XFL? Did I love football that much? Like,
No.
no. Like I love NFL and I love the product they put and like the history and the kind of tradition and heritage behind it, right? Same with golf, the like PGA, right? Again, we just talked about the Masters. Like there's something about that. Like I can remember where I was the day that Tiger won the Masters, his last one, right? Like
Yeah.
landing on a plane with some of my buddies coming back from my bachelor party. I remember that. I have no idea what was going on for the TGL or some live tournament, and I probably never will, right? So it's one of those things like, yes, I am all about creative marketing and ways of growing games and getting fans. But to your point, like, where do you start to cross the line, right? Like, where does it
Yeah.
get? And the one thing I will say is I don't think that they should ever be taking the live or any of that stuff as like a shot over the bow to the PGA that like we think we're better. I do think it's a little bit of a desperation in terms of trying to grow the game of golf. But if anything, like all it does to true golf heads like yourself is go, this is exactly why I love the PGA, right? Like,
Yeah.
because it is the tradition and everything else is just noise.
Yeah, it's the tradition, but it's also like the feel of this means more. It's harder to
Right.
get there. There's so many less tour cards nowadays. Corn Ferry just reduced them. So it's getting harder to get there, but easier to stay there. And,
Mhm.
I've been to US Opens. I've been behind the scenes in the locker rooms at major championships. That is different than
Yeah.
following around 10 creators with 50 cameras on a night par 3 course.
Yeah.
It feels like a JV football game to the Super Bowl different. So the feel is different. It's, cameras aren't coming from players. The player's good enough, someone's filming me. Not
Right.
I'm bringing my camera and tripod. Like,
Yeah.
it's very different.
Yeah, well, so again, assuming we're referencing like the night league or whatever that's here at Rolling Hills, right? Look, it's the same reason I play softball on Tuesday nights, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
not playing in the bigs anymore, but I still want like some sort of organizational structure and I want to compete a little, right?
Yeah.
And do I think anybody thinks in those night leagues that they're like destined for greatness and playing in the No, but it's like a fun way to kind
Dude, the
of
grass league's awesome. I'm
yeah,
playing in it earlier next month, so it's going to
yeah,
be great. But it's a different gear than
right,
amateur like competitive D1 pro golf. It's a completely
right.
different gear. It's more entertaining. Yes, there's good players, or maybe they used to do that, but it's a little different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I don't know. The other thing that feels interesting to me from the way that golf is marketed and everything is like I actually find it really funny because it's almost comparable to like Instagram and this not when you're watching golf on TV, right? You're only for the most part seeing the really good shots or the absolutely horrendous shots, right? Like you're seeing, oh, blah, 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 hit it 2 holes over. Or, Tony Finau hit the hole in one to make the cut this last weekend, right?
Yeah.
Like unreal. But we didn't see why is Tony having to hit a hole in one to make the cut? What happened to all his other garbage shots, right? And it happens. Like they're pro golfers and you're going to make bad shots. You know what I mean? But that's the thing that I think is so funny about the way that golf is presented and marketed because it makes it seem as if these dudes are just absolutely perfect every single shot, every single round, and they're not. And that's what's so great about golf is like, we've been at ACC. There was a story way back when, like Cody, Zeeb, all the boys, and randomly we were going to go play 9 more. And out of nowhere, this guy in the back's like, "Hey, you guys mind if I play 9 more with you?" And we were like, oh, "God, like another guy." But we turn around, we see a pink driver as Bubba Watson, and he just wanted to play 9 holes. And we were like, "Yeah, absolutely." So Bubba comes and plays 9 with us, but like he hit some bad shots. Like I'm pretty sure Cody beat him. I think he owes him like $200 or something. but
That's
but
stupid.
he like it was just the idea that like, hey, they're not perfect either. Like what the big difference, at least in my mind, was A, like how far they hit it, B, how well they can putt, and then C, they can do it consistently. Right? Like I may shoot one of the best rounds of my life, but I'm only doing it once, not 4 days in a row. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 9 months out of the year too.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a different beast. They play every week. They're on the plane every Monday. They're on the ground trying to get used to what they got for the week. It's a grind. It's different, but it's like, having that round with someone who you can see is human. Like that happened for me at the U.S. Open when I was out there when Wyndham won at LACC.
Yeah, yeah.
Watching Ricky and a couple of those guys struggle on the back nine on Sunday when it was windy, and I'm walking underneath the ropes watching how good it was. They're human. They have
Yeah.
emotions. They have anxiety. They do miss under pressure sometimes, but Jordan missed a lot under pressure too, but he did fight through a lot of wins too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's, well, throw in another factor, right? Weather. Can't predict if it's going to wind, if there's going to be wind, if it's going to be raining. I mean, hell, there's some tournaments where, like, if you teed off in the morning, you have an advantage because the wind didn't pick up until 1, right? It
Yep.
just so happened that your tee time was dog shit, you know?
Right? Yeah, that's the
So
luck of the draw. Half the battle sometimes.
100%. And then again, too, same thing where like sometimes, oh, you're in the lead or you're part of the top of the leaderboard and you go out later, right? Like, but it didn't help you. Like,
Right?
you ended up catching the win in the afternoon because you were in the lead. Like, how's that fair?
Right. And it's like
I've actually
unless
said that.
someone
I feel like they should almost get to choose. Like, if you're in the top 10, like you should get to choose your tee time the next day.
that'd be something cool to implement,
Right? Like, I should have some sort of competitive advantage since I'm
Hmm.
winning.
Yeah, guys would be picking their same foursome where they're comfortable, and half the battle is seeing how you can do when you're uncomfortable. So,
Well, I think you could just do it like a ladder draft, basically. You say, okay, this is everybody that made the cut. Hey, when do you want to tee off? And you just start slotting yourself in. But the other trick of it is
you
nobody
want to
else can
play.
know where you picked, right? So
Ooh,
like you would say, like, let's say Rory's in the lead and he says, oh, I want the 8 a.m. tee time, right? Okay, great. But nobody else knows that Rory picked it. They just know that spot's full. Now, of course, again, you'd have to do it where like, hey, maybe like it doesn't say it's full until all 4 are filled. Because let's say if you're second place, you know where Rory went because there's only one tee time gone. You know what I mean? Like, but
yeah,
I
it'd be
think that would be
weird. You wouldn't have the guys that are leading the tournament probably playing with each other, feeling the noose after a good shot. Like Rory stuffs it, JT's got to stuff it. They'd be playing on different sides of the property,
yeah.
hearing roars at different places. That's also part of the fun is you got 3 guys with 13 under par with 2 holes left, and we know they're running out of time, but they're all at the same level.
See now, so then again, there's the other arguments. Maybe only on Sunday, right? That they
Yeah.
seed it accordingly. But then like, hey, after the first round, you get to choose. After the second round, you get to choose. After the third round, now it's how it lies, right? But
Yeah.
I think that would be pretty dope, just because you get completely random people. And again, who knows? Maybe like the dude that was like all the way in last place is somehow playing with Rory, right? Like,
Yeah.
that would just make for some entertainment for sure.
And yeah, if Rory plays with a guy who slow plays him, he'll not like it, and right away the rule will get changed. So
Yep,
who knows?
exactly. Well, so where you're at now, we'll go back and shift gears again. What's on deck for you in AWG? What do you got in the works?
So we're getting ready to roll out our virtual platform to where you can sign up for a monthly subscription, get feedback on your swings in between your lessons with me while you have your range day. Submit that video, and if it's 2 weeks before your next in-person lesson, get back to you the next day, have that, kind of structure to keep going while we're away. Or if you've never been with us in person, you can access us from, like Dooman, my guy in Dubai, all the way to like Grayson Allen at night after a basketball game. He's in his simulator. I can reach you all different avenues. We want to still be able to help if you can't get in or if you're waiting too long to get in.
Yep.
So we're excited about that offer.
So what would they do? I mean, am I just going to stand a tripod up and to kind of film my swing at the range, or like what would that look like?
Yeah, it'd be, you don't have to be on the range. You could have a net or a simulator, but we just need to see your body working from a face on and down the line view. So we can kind of give you the drills we think you should be doing, compare yourself to someone moving in a better, pattern, show you a personalized video of us reenacting what you did so we can kind of change that pattern. It's a way to bridge the gap. So there's less, questions, and there's always something you can be doing. We want to kind of bridge that gap of the time in between. If you have questions, I'm already on the phone 24/7, and now we're going to be able to provide something better than just, them sending me videos and me answering in texts. It can get better.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds awesome, man. I think everything's evolving. One of the big things I think is time, right? And time is our most valuable asset. So the idea that some people, if they're not close, luckily for me, you guys are pretty close to me, but like if they're, 30, 40 minutes, that's 2.5 hours out of their day, right? To go take a lesson,
Right.
an hour and a half, they can just go play it around, right?
Right.
Being able to do it virtual or like when it's convenient for you, I think is a huge thing. If you guys can perfect that and have a platform and be able to efficiently do it, that'll be awesome for your students.
Yeah, it'll be great. It's being built right now by one of my amazing consultants. He's a PhD, works for the Miami Marlins in their data center. He builds all my stuff. He does everything online for me. I tell him what I need, and it's almost done like that. So
nice.
The client portal virtually, Michael Zahar is going to kill it for us. If anybody needs help online, he's your man. I'm really excited to see what it looks like. Hopefully live early this summer.
Very good, man. Well, so where can everybody get a hold of you if they're interested in lessons, if they're interested in working with you at all? Maybe they need you for some influencer stuff. Where can they get a hold of you?
Yes, you can text me right on my cell, 602-501-3192. Follow me on Welk Pro Golf. That's on Instagram. Or Andrew Welk Golf on Instagram. That's the business account. Or shoot me an email at andrew@andrewwelkgolf.com.
Very good, man. Well, I know I'm overdue for a lesson, so I got to get in there. I had a package and then I put it down for like 6 months. So I got to get in there and get back and see you. But
the volleyball or the softball going on.
Yeah, right. Yeah, figuring out how to play both sports and not screw one or the other.
That's tough for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me, man. It was a pleasure, and looking forward to seeing the interview come out. And we'll talk to you soon.
Love it, brother. Appreciate you always.
Right. You got it.